It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. And after 13 years, it is now here. Avatar: The Way of Water. To put that in perspective, the 13 years. When the first movie came out, I was in the fourth grade. And here I am, now a college graduate. So that's crazy to think about. But anywho, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So let's get to it. Pros: Avatar: The Way of Water is obviously the sequel to Avatar. And as you know, Avatar is the highest grossing movie of all time, made nearly $2.9 billion thanks to its original release and several re releases after that. But let's talk about the first Avatar movie. So, first Avatar came out 12 years after Titanic, which that movie became the biggest hit of all time. And like Titanic, people were like, I don't know if this is going to be a hit. Like, people were pretty skeptical about its potential success, especially considering that long gap between movies. And, James Cameron, like, at this point, like, for the second time, he proved everybody wrong. Dead wrong. Because Avatar opened with 77 million, which I believe at the time was the second biggest opening ever for December, which should really tell you how long ago this was, because this was like, the fact that this was near the top really tells you that the December box office was completely different back then, because now, yeah, movies opening like 200 million plus with like Star Wars and Spider-Man. So different era entirely. So it opened well, and then its run after that was just pure insanity. Look at these numbers. It only fell like 2% the next week, and then 9% the 27th, then 15, then 18, and 10. It just kept going. Like, it kind of slowed down by the time, March came around, but it was number one for 7 weeks in a row. It lost to Dear John, of all movies, but still, phenomenal run. Absolute madness here. And made, like, I think its original run, at least in 2010. Gotta find it. Okay. Made around 760 million domestic, including its re-release. It was like 785 million domestic, and internationally it made over $2 billion. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, biggest movie of all time. It lost its title very briefly to Endgame, but it won it back thanks to an additional re-release. So yeah, this is the biggest movie of all time. So obviously people were going to be interested in the next one because of that simple fact. So yeah, obviously Avatar being the biggest movie of all time, that's a big pro for its sequel, obviously. So Avatar's success, pro. Another pro is that recently Avatar had a re-release back in September, and this is kind of like both a way to make more money and a way to basically, I guess, kind of test the waters to see how interested people are in the Avatar universe. Because again, long time since the first movie, so this was kind of like a test. And basically like a free advertisement. Well, not free advertisement, like a paid advertisement for the sequel. Because apparently, with this re-release, there was like it got attached with some, like, at the never before seen footage, I think. But yeah, this happened back in September. I didn't expect much out of this. I was just like, are people really gonna watch this movie again when it's literally been widely available for over a decade, with like DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, streaming, all that jazz? Apparently they are. There are people who were willing to watch it again because it opened like $10+ million, and it did pretty well for a re-release. It did way better than a No Way Home re-release, and that was way more recent than Avatar. And both came out like the same month. But yeah, the Avatar re-release did pretty darn well considering what it was. So that was a very positive, I wouldn't say very positive sign, but a positive sign for the sequel that people were still interested in this universe and people were willing to see it again. So again, positive sign for the sequel. So the re-release going pretty well. I consider that to be a pro. Another pro, competition. Do I even need to explain this one? I really don't, because what's out there? Honestly, what is out there? Everything that's out right now is either old or dead. Okay. And the stuff coming out after this isn't exactly thrilling. I mean, you got Puss in Boots 2, you got I Want to Dance with Somebody, and Babylon as like the big holiday movies, and none of them scream mega hit. And for January, same thing. Nothing really screams mega hit. The one movie that has the best chance of being a hit is Meg 3 again. We won't be having like a real blockbuster esque movie hitting cinemas until Ant-Man 3. And that's not till mid February. So Avatar The Way of Water has plenty of time to play out because competition is just non existent, more or less non existent. I mean, it's there, but is it though? I don't think it's got much of an impact. So, real lack of competition, I would definitely label that as a pro. Another pro is that its reviews are pretty darn good. I have to check Rotten Tomatoes real quick. I think last I checked it was like an 82%. Let me check. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's at 80%. That's still good. Nothing to complain about there. Of 79%. That's still fine. 79% solid score, and its audience score is now at 94% as we speak. So that word of mouth is a non-issue here. So good critical score, great audience score. Yeah, easy pro. Another easy pro right there. Let's see. Another pro I can think of. I guess we could look at his Thursday previews. Although this isn't really, it's like kind of a minor pro because his Thursday previews are good. Like 17 million is nothing to sneeze at. But it is far from the best we've seen this year. I mean, let's look at that. Um Biggest previews. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness had the biggest previews, 36 million. So this is less than half of that. And then we also have Thor Love and Thunder, 29 million. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, 28 million. The Batman, 21.6. Although that's kind of a misleading number because that includes like 4 million from like IMAX showings in the middle of before, like a couple days before it came out. So it's more like 17.6 million. You got Top Gun Maverick with 19.3. You got Jurassic World Dominion with 18. And then you got Way of Water with 17. What's under it? Well, there's Minions 2. I don't think that's comparable. So we're just going to ignore that. So yeah, definitely below some of the movies that have come out this year. But Avatar is kind of a different beast in comparison to like an MCU flick. With the MCU, that's the type of movie where all the fans show up day one, or I guess negative day one, with Thursday previews, and then they kind of it just bleeds out after that because like all the hype happens day one. And it was a little different with the Batman, wasn't quite so front loaded, and with Top Gun Maverick, it wasn't really front loaded at all. And with Jurassic World Dominion, kind of the same thing. So, yeah, I feel it's still in a good place when it comes to previews. It's still in a place where it should do really well over the weekend. But yeah, its preview numbers, they're good, but not great in the grand scheme of things. But I don't think it will be as brutally front loaded as like an MCU flick. I don't think the hype is that extreme. And compared to the original movie, I have to find it again. Uh, Avatar. Where are you? Okay. I think it had like, this isn't comparable at all, I understand that. Okay, it doesn't show it here, but it made like 3.5 million in its previews, but this was back in the day where they had like midnight previews. So now there's like literally like 3 p.m. previews now. So it's not quite comparable. Actually, not really comparable at all. But still, it's quite a bit bigger than the first movie. So there's that, even if it's kind of like a worthless comparison. But yeah. So Thursday previews, I consider it to be a minor pro. Good, not great. Uh, any other pros I can think of? Really, I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything else. Those are like the main ones. Well, I guess let's get to cons because there are cons. Well, some might not apply right now, but I'd still want to talk about them. So, the big con with Avatar: The Way of Water is the reputation of its predecessor. I mean, sure, Avatar made all the money in the world. We all know that. But as a movie, its reputation isn't so great. Pretty much the way the easy way to describe its reputation is it had fantastic effects, like visually spectacular effects, and characters and story that were the middest of the mid. And that's pretty much been its whole legacy. Like, basically, people described it, the first movie, as like visual eye candy and not much else because the story was very basic. The characters were there. um, like, well, I know a lot of people have, said ad nauseum that the first movie like ripped off like Ferngully and stuff. So yeah. So Avatar's reputation as like an actual movie, it wasn't super great. Like, people didn't really talk about it all that much in like the years after it came out. I mean, they're talking about it now because the sequel's out. But yeah, its reputation was kind of eh. Like, not, it wasn't terrible, but it was just like a shrug of the shoulders. So yeah, and so obviously the sequel had to deal with that. It had to really, this movie had to work to convince people to go back to Pandora, and so yeah, the first movie's not so stellar reputation. I would consider that to be a con. I don't think it's going to affect this movie, but still something I want to mention. Another con is, well, I didn't even mention the 3D. That was the big selling point of the original movie. Like 3D, 3D, 3D. That was that's the reason why Avatar, one of the reasons why the first Avatar was so successful, because of how it used 3D. Now people were like, "Damn, this looks insane." And guess what happened? Everybody jumped on the bandwagon and made 3D everything. Because I know 3D is kind of like it's like a fad that goes in and out of fashion like every few decades, and it became in fashion again thanks to Avatar. And so everybody jumped on the bandwagon. You literally have movies with 3D in the title, like Step Up 3D, Jackass 3D, Saw 3D. Like, it got wacky. And there was like, and a lot of it just fell, like, some of it was utilized pretty well, but a lot of it was obviously tacked on when it shouldn't have been. Like, say with like Clash of the Titans and like The Last Airbender were really horrible uses of 3D. And some movies did utilize it well. I know the main ones are How to Train Your Dragon used it well, Gravity used it really well. But then after a while, people just stopped caring. Like, the fad died again. And then 3D kind of just became obsolete again. Now, could this bring it back? Probably, but I don't know how far it's gonna go when it comes to its comeback. But I imagine people will want to watch a movie like this um on the biggest screen imaginable, because you get like the most ideal experience doing that. Either 3D, IMAX, IMAX 3D, whatever. But yeah, with 3D, it's not even really a con, but it's more like middle ground. Honestly, it's hard to say if this movie will really bring it back. Like, it's hard to say it'll have the same impact as like its predecessor when it comes to the whole 3D thing. So that's kind of more middle ground. I thought of it as a con, but I was like, no, that's more middle ground. So that's middle ground. So we only had one con so far. Its predecessor's reputation. Um, I guess one could label its running time as a con because this is a long ass movie. It's 190 minutes. I think it's 192 minutes. But yeah, 3+ hours. That is a lot for most people. And obviously, we've seen movies do stupid well despite long running times, like Wolf of Wall Street, Avengers Endgame, The Batman, who are all like 3 hours and all still did well. So people aren't like against 3 hour movies, but it's a little more difficult to schedule a 3 hour movie in comparison to like an hour and a half or 2 hour movie. So that could, I guess, for me, like I can't watch it this weekend because of that, because it wouldn't work out. I'll watch it in the middle of next week, but yeah, the whole 3 hour plus running time, that could be a problem for some people, but I don't think it's going to be a big detriment to the movie because the first Avatar was a long movie too, so it didn't hurt that movie. So yeah, I'm just gonna label the 3 hour plus runtime as a very minor con in the grand scheme of things. I guess another con is, I guess, high expectations in a way, but also just like the hype isn't really as strong as other movies. Like, say, with No Way Home last year, that movie had next level hype. Hype I may have, I don't think I've ever seen for a movie. Like, people were foaming at the mouth over anything regarding that movie. And when it came out, it was the biggest deal. I think you can relate to like Infinity War and Endgame also being on that same level of hype. Avatar: The Way of Water isn't like that. The hype is a lot more subdued in comparison. It's kind of more silent hype than like screaming at the top of your lungs. So there's that, and then there's also like high expectations because again, first movie, biggest movie of all time. So obviously expectations would be sky high for this one. But if it doesn't reach those expectations, it's going to be seen as a disappointment. It's going to be seen as a fail because apparently this movie needs $2 billion to break even. James Cameron said it himself. So, oof, that is that is a steep climb. And could it do it? Absolutely, because the first movie did super well, and we're now we're now in the era where movies can make stupid, like stupidly, I'm lost my words. Movies can make a stupid amount of money again. We saw that with No Way Home. We saw that with Top Gun Maverick. Like movies can make large amounts of money again. And I think this movie has the potential to do that, but it's going to be a steep climb. And it all depends on what happens this weekend, what happens the next few weeks. Hell, the next month. In the next month plus will determine how it will do in the long run, but or how successful it will really be. But yeah, high expectations mixed with somewhat subdued hype. I'm gonna label that as a con, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So opening weekend, this is difficult because we have its Thursday preview. I already said I don't think it's gonna be as front loaded as like an MCU flick, but I still don't know how front loaded it will be. Period. That's hard to say. Um, because there is gonna be like an instant demand. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be super high, but there will be that instant rush to see it, at least for its opening day. But yeah, I'm not sure just how bad it will be or how brutal it will be. It's so this prediction is going to be very difficult at the rate things are going. Looking at its comparisons, uh, at the search for these, none of these are okay. Top Gun Maverick is one of them. Top Gun Maverick, Jurassic World, Dominion, and the Batman, because his preview numbers were closest to those movies. Okay, So let's look at their opening weekends. Top Gun Maverick 126, Jurassic World Dominion 145, The Batman 134. Could this reach that? I think it can. I think it has the potential to be in that ballpark. So I'm gonna have a bit of a wide range here. I'm gonna say it's gonna open between 125 and 150 opening weekend. I think it can hit that. That seems achievable enough for the movie. I think it's absolutely possible. It could it'll be in that range opening weekend. I never expected it to make like No Way Home money where it makes like 200 million plus. I never thought that was going to happen. But yeah, 125 to 150 opening weekend I think is doable. Now it's total. Oh boy. I didn't mention this with cons, but next weekend is going to be terrible because Christmas Eve is going to be on a Saturday, and that's a death sentence for all movies, and that's going to hurt this movie a lot. So its second weekend is going to be very rough. After that, it won't be so bad, but yeah, oof. I don't know. I imagine it'll play out throughout the rest of December and January, just like its predecessor. Um, so I'm gonna swing for the fences. I'm gonna swing for the fences. I'm gonna do it. 700 million plus. I'm going with that. That's what I think might happen. I don't know if it'll surpass its predecessor, but I think it could get close. But we'll see. I mean, Top Gun Maverick had stupid long legs for the movie it was. So maybe the same will happen here. Who knows? But I'm going with 700 million plus. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll make sure to let you know that. Either my December recap or I guess my January recap. Because I'll probably be talking about the movie again. So for a little bit. But yeah. 700 million plus. That's my final prediction for this movie. Final total. So, and it's international total, I imagine, will be much bigger than its domestic total, because just like the first movie, because this movie has always done well internationally, even if it's re-releases, it's done really well internationally, and the same thing will obviously happen again. So, yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it for Avatar 2. Ugh. It's the only movie coming out this weekend because what movie is gonna want to go up against that? Like, come on. Well, I guess I should mention this from 20th Century Studios. I forgot to mention that. They haven't had a great year at all, but this is obviously it obviously had like hit potential on it. So this is not really don't need to talk about that. But yeah, the next week is going to be weird because it's Christmas. It won't be quite as weird as last year, but it'll still be weird. So Wednesday, we got Puss in Boots 2. Then Friday, literally the day before Christmas Eve, we got uh Babylon, I Want to Dance with Somebody, and I guess Empire of Light. I think I'm not too sure about that one. I know Babylon, I Want to Dance with Somebody. I know they were always meant to come out around this time, but I don't know about Empire of Light. But I guess you'll find out if I when I make a video on it. And then that'll be it for the rest of the year. And then we move on to 2023. So, yeah. Stay tuned for those. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this, got playlists on the homepage. While previous prediction videos I made this year, already did a prediction video of the Avatar re-release that happened in September. I did that. So if you want to watch that, it's in the playlist. You can find it. Watch that and all the others. Go right ahead. There's also box office the canceled series. There we go. The canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I only covered Avatar 2 once. Only once. And that's when, like, this was supposed to come out last year. That was the initial plan. Didn't work out. So it got moved to 2023, as with all the other sequels. And I didn't even mention all those sequels. Like, at first, people were like, I don't know about all these sequels, man. There's like, what, 5 of them. Ew. But, you know, and it's been said the existence of Avatar 4 and 5 depend on the success of 2. Because if 2 fails, then we're just going to go straight to 3 and that's it. So the other Avatar movies, their existence depends on Avatar 2. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I only mentioned it once. That was episode 14. So it was a very long time ago. So if you want to watch that episode or all the other episodes I've done, I'm now done 169 episodes. So if you want to watch any of those, go right ahead, binge it all from beginning to now. I highly encourage it. So go do it. There's also what else? Oh yeah, box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. December recap will come out within like the first week of the new year, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I've done on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.